Ende?
"23 films, 7 levels." From two eager grandkids thrilled to finally visit their long-lost grandparents, only to discover the couple in the house aren't really them.
Becca, Tyler, just listen to me.
We are.
Those aren't your grandparents.
To siblings slowly realizing the woman they call mother is actually someone with far darker intentions. Let's start at the tip of the iceberg. Disclaimer. Level 1. The Visit 2015. M. Night Shyamalan has always been a big name in the horror thriller industry. Works like The Sixth Sense, Split, and Signs showcased his ingenuity when it comes to writing the most insane plot twists. However, one of his most mind-blowingly disturbing works is a found-footage horror movie known as The Visit. The movie itself was released in 2015 and is presented entirely through footage captured by the main character's cameras. Becca and Tyler are two teens who are about to make their first trip to Pennsylvania to meet their estranged grandparents. Becca intends to make an entire documentary out of her encounter, completely unaware of the fact that this would end up becoming the key evidence of the nightmare she and her brother are about to go through. When the children arrive at their grandparents' place, something seems off. But not enough to raise any red flags. Becca and Tyler are still excited to spend the week trying to get to know their grandparents better. Nana and Pop, on the other hand, bombard the children with some strange rules that they find unusual but still go along with. One of the biggest examples of this is the strict nightly curfew they impose on the children. They are not allowed to leave their room after 9:30 p.m.
It's probably best that we just call it a rule that you two shouldn't come out of your room after 9:30 p.m. Deal?
However, the more Becca and Tyler give in to these strange impositions, the worse their grandparents' behavior gets.
Here I come, Tyler. Here I come.
This prompts the two to set up cameras in the house to at least try to guess what's going on. That's when they realize things are way worse than they seemed. After their 9:30 p.m. curfew, the kids spy on their grandparents through these cameras. Nana is seen aimlessly wandering around the house, throwing up. She's later caught trying to break into the kid's room with a knife. Pop, on the other hand, shows even more horrendous behavior. He's erratic, confused, and is later on seen to be hoarding soiled diapers in the house shed. The grandparents' behaviors get increasingly violent, and the kids are forced to ask their mother for advice. During their video call, their mother finally takes a look at her parents, only to realize they're not her parents.
Becca, Tyler, just listen to me.
We are.
Those aren't your grandparents.
It is later revealed that the real Nana and Pop had their lives taken by two psychiatric patients who assumed their identities. Their corpses are hidden in the basement. This discovery directly leads to the climax of the movie. Becca is attacked by Nana in a bedroom, and Tyler is tormented by Pop with his hoard of soiled diapers. Both teens fight back and eventually end up killing the assailants. They escape their nightmare and are finally reunited with their mother, who's already waiting with police officers. Becca is able to complete her documentary, which captures the horror unfolding in real time. Creep 2. Creep 2, like the name suggests, is a sequel entry to a 2014 film of the same name. While the first film also had found footage elements and leaned heavily on psychological horror, the second film, released in 2017, takes these elements up a notch. The movie follows a serial killer, Aaron, who is sick and tired of his serial killing proclivities. He's looking for something to bring back the spark in his life, and is inspired to make his own biographical documentary in hopes that it would do exactly that. For that, he hires a videographer, Sarah from Craigslist, who's already struggling with her own online presence and wishes to get more organic traction. Aaron offers her $1,000 and straight up admits his true identity and the nature of this job. Instead of being creeped out or scared, Sarah does the exact opposite.
Are you just saying you're into it because you want a job?
No, I've heard you out, and I think this sounds great. Want to do it?
I don't hear any passion in your voice.
'Cause I want to do it. 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 'Cause I want to Aaron, I want to make this film with you.
She becomes intrigued, almost enamored with him. Throughout the movie, they have this strange, twisted, and occasionally romantic dynamic, which ends up with Aaron openly claiming something unhinged and Sarah brushing it off as a joke.
You won't go to the police tomorrow, because tomorrow I'll be dead. Because tonight, you are going to kill me.
However, the found footage format pushes the audience into this strange voyeuristic space as we watch Aaron fully manipulating Sarah. Sarah's proximity to the killer comes off as increasingly disturbing, particularly because of how they slowly become romantically involved. It's almost as if the found footage format mocks the audience's inability to do anything for the victim. Everything boils over in the climax when Sarah is egged on by Aaron to perform a Romeo-Juliet style to end her life with him. That's when she finally realizes that the man she's been filming is an actual serial killer. He manages to wound Sarah deeply and drags her to an open grave. However, she finally regains her strength and fights back just enough to escape. The film ends with an unknown individual filming Sarah and whistling Aaron's signature tune to her. It cuts off abruptly as Sarah tries to locate the source of the sound. Level 2. The Last Broadcast, 1998. The Last Broadcast was a 1998 ultra-low-budget mockumentary written, directed, and starring Stefan Avalos and Lance Weiler. To be very transparent, the entire movie is like a DIY project made on some random consumer-level digital equipment, which it is. It's as authentic as the makers could make it and is fairly realistic for its budget. The movie starts off with introducing us to a filmmaker known as David Ley. David is investigating a string of deaths that left their entire community in chaos. The victims were the hosts of a struggling local cable access TV show called Fact or Fiction. One of the show's few fans recommended to the host that they investigate the urban legend, the Jersey Devil, in the New Jersey woods Pine Barrens. Following up on the tip, the hosts Stephen Johnny Akvast and Locus Wheeler begin their preparations. They hire a paranormal investigator, Rain Clacken, and a troubled psychic medium, Jim Seward, to take along on their little trip.
You know, I feel that I can really help out. I understand what you're trying to do, and I really think that I can help out.
However, something goes terribly wrong when only Jim returns home alive, with the other three losing their lives. He's instantly taken in as prime suspect and thrown in jail. He later dies in prison from unexplained causes, leaving the case unresolved.
Jim Seward was found dead in his jail cell of undetermined causes.
That is when David Ley takes it upon himself to solve whatever happened to those innocent men in the Pine Barrens. He receives a bunch of damaged videotape reels on his doorstep that are believed to belong to the cast of Fact or Fiction. He instantly hires a data retrieval expert to reconstruct the footage. The two spend hours trying to figure out who the actual culprit is, but one thing is certain, it is definitely not Jim Seward. The poor man was convicted on circumstantial evidence and was trying to prove himself innocent until the very end. The final act consists of the data retrieval expert finally figuring out who the real culprit is. It's David Ley himself. Everything that has happened thus far is part of his greater plan for his grand documentary. The reveal instantly culminates in the narrative shifting away from first person to third person as Ley proceeds to take the life of the data retrieval expert. The final scene ends up with him loading her body into his car and dumping it somewhere, all while continuing to film the documentary on his own. The thing with The Last Broadcast is that it is one of the earliest examples of found footage horror and often gets compared to the Blair Witch Project. But it should be known that the film actually came out a year earlier and received rave reviews. Some horror movie experts consider it far better than the Blair Witch itself. 388 Arletta Avenue, 2011. The 2011 found footage movie 388 Arletta Avenue was filmed through the lens of a set of cameras set up in a house that is being targeted by a stalker. The twist? The cameras themselves belong to the stalker. So in other words, the audience is essentially just watching a stalker make his victims' lives hell in real time. The movie follows James and Amy Deacon, a couple living quietly in Toronto. They are fully unaware that their house is set up for surveillance by a voyeuristic stalker who's out to get them. From the start, the audience can feel that something is completely off. The cameras are hidden almost everywhere in their house, leaving absolutely nothing to the imagination. Every part is covered with some sort of recording device, including the couple's car and their computers. And that alone makes the entire experience so much more claustrophobic and disturbing for the audience.
Okay, so what do you think? Somebody just made a CD, they put it in the car. Wasn't this car door locked? Yes, okay. So all I know is that I didn't make it.
The couple initially doesn't really register certain things going on in their life. The stalker changes the wife's morning alarm, he places a strange CD mix in their car which culminates in the two arguing about who made it. He even replaces their cat with a look-alike. Slowly, the couple realizes something is horribly wrong but just can't seem to put their finger on it. They begin arguing more and genuinely become more stressed about everything. After a particularly rough night, they part ways in the morning while still not talking to each other. This ends up being devastating. Shortly afterwards, the stalker kidnaps Amy and sends James a video of her tied and gagged. Feeling completely at the mercy of the stalker, James begins spiraling. He accuses his coworkers, picks fights with people, and basically tears his life apart trying to get his wife back. However, things go from bad to worse when James finds Amy dead in his basement. He's eventually accused of the crime and is killed on the spot.
Put the gun down now! Drop the gun! No, it's not me!
The stalker then labels this particular tape as 388 Arletta Avenue and moves on to his next victims, starting the cycle all over again. The stalker's face or motive is never revealed. Even worse, it strips the characters of their privacy and dignity so meticulously that the audience becomes complicit. Atrocious, 2010. Atrocious sets itself up like your typical family vacation drama story, but it culminates in a revelation that leaves everyone reeling. The film follows siblings Christian and July who run their own web show investigating urban legends. Their family gets a chance to visit their old vacation home on the fringe of some woods thought to be haunted by a girl who went missing in 1940. They decide that their next episode would cover the story and history of the ghost girl, and they come completely prepared with cameras. At first, the movie plays out like your average kids with a camera being goofy setup. The two siblings are shown exploring a nearby forest maze and joking around. But things take an unsettling turn when the family dog suddenly ends up nearby. After that, they begin to hear strange noises at night and catch glimpses of something moving unnaturally fast around their vacation house. One night, the entire house is turned upside down when their mother frantically tells them their little brother Jose is missing.
¿José?
¿Qué pasa, mamá?
¿Habéis visto a José?
No, aquí no está, ¿por qué?
He buscado por toda la casa y no lo encuentro.
¿Crees que ha podido salir fuera?
Cristian, por favor, ayúdame a buscarlo. ¡José!
The siblings rush into the forest maze to look for him, only to come back to find his burnt body in the fireplace. Their mother's behavior becomes increasingly erratic, and everything culminates in Eli going missing, potentially killed. Christian manages to escape and goes to the basement to find some old tapes, and when he plays them, he finds out the truth. There is no ghost girl haunting the area. His mother is a schizophrenia patient who experiences episodes of extreme violence. The ghost haunting his family all along was his own mother. The movie ends with Christian getting jumped by her and being bludgeoned to death by an axe. But if you're looking for something that won't leave you traumatized, hitting subscribe is a good start. Level 3. Apocalypse Cult 2014. Apocalypse Cult follows a journalist, Jody, and her cameraman Kevin as they head into the wild to track down a secretive doomsday cult. They first heard about the doomsday cult at a support group meeting where someone bragged about escaping it. In an attempt to find leads, they start getting involved in the cult's activities and are eventually invited by the members.
Thank you.
Could you please get on your knees?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
At first, when the pair arrives at the cult's secluded location, it feels fairly harmless. A major part of it consists of women in simple matching robes moving through their daily routines. In fact, for some audiences, it may even feel slightly alluring and whimsical.
Welcome.
Thank you, Michael.
Bless you for being here.
Thank you.
Welcome to our compound.
Thank you very much for having us here.
That is, until the main characters and the audience come to the sinking realization that the entire cult plans on taking their lives. The mastermind behind that is the male divine leader of the group, Michael. He's not only the sole authority figure, but is also highly twisted and downright perverted. That's when you notice how detached the women seem and how they're so mind-bendingly devoted to Michael. Jody is eventually left alone with the group as her cameraman leaves and is sucked into the workings of the cult. It doesn't end neatly either, as Jody's fate is left completely unresolved.
Amy, where are you?
The audience can't be sure if she managed to escape or if she even had a chance to do so. Brian Loves You, 2008. Brian Loves You is what most people would call a cult classic. It's not necessarily the best horror movie you'll ever see, but it is definitely one of the strangest found footage formats you will come across. The film is a shot-on video which mixes up its found footage and third-person filming, but does it in a very B-movie way. It follows a psychotherapist, Jonathan, who gets entangled in the affairs of a local cult known as the Bryans. He begins noticing patterns of how deeply this cult has infiltrated itself into their community and decides to look into what's actually happening. He and his two friends, Linda and Nicole, set out with their cameras to document their findings. However, what feels strange initially becomes outright horrifying when Linda dies unexpectedly.
Linda?
The town at this point is knees deep in their cultish activities and starts claiming that the woman's death was a sacrifice to their prophet, who they call, you guessed it, Brian.
Linda should be revered for ending her life in the name of Brian.
Their religious text is a book known as the Book of Brian that tells the story of a divine being, Brian, who performs miracles but was killed by the devil known as Tansy. As time goes on, Jonathan keeps gathering more and more evidence through interviews and hidden filming. He films strange gatherings, people speaking in wild languages, and faces wearing eerie Brian masks. The townspeople's commitment to the act is so strong that their whispers of devotion end up indoctrinating Jonathan's friend, Nicole. She's so clearly brainwashed that she refuses to acknowledge Jonathan and dismisses him when he tries to meet up with her. Then things get even more personal. Jonathan is forced into a mental institute against his will, and for the next 45 minutes of the film, we basically witness him being locked in, medicated, and tormented into joining the religion. By the end, Jonathan loses his grip on reality and becomes a puppet of the cult. Eventually, when things look too grim, Jonathan is saved by another man looking to escape the group's shackles. The two manage to escape the institution, only to be pulled back when Jonathan decides he needs to meet up with Nicole one more time. There isn't a conclusive ending to the movie, and the unsettling nature of this is the whole point. You feel the ambition of the cult spreading quietly through Jonathan's life. The found footage style isn't about gore, unlike so many other cult movies. It's really all about subtle, inescapable indoctrination. The Houses October Built, 2014. The Houses October Built is a found footage film that plays on a really simple but effective fear. What would happen if the people running and acting in haunted houses weren't actors, but genuinely dangerous individuals who were out there to hurt you?
Oh, Jesus!
The movie follows a group of friends who collectively decide to document various extreme haunted houses in the country. They pile into an RV and start hunting for the most intense and underground haunted attractions they can find. They begin with interviewing different people working in these locations and are, for the most part, having a good time. It's all fun and games at first.
It is fun. It's interesting. It's definitely different.
However, they do have a goal in mind for their documentary. It's to find an elusive, almost legendary haunting group known as the Blue Skeleton. The group is known for very realistic haunts that cross the line between fake scenarios and actual crime. They're basically a bunch of people that employ actual torment techniques for their haunted houses.
Surprise?
What the hell is going on?
Things start getting unsettling during interviews with other, less known haunted house actors. The main characters realize how common it is for these establishments to hire people with sketchy pasts. They even go as far as to use real corpses and body parts as props. Eventually, the leader of the group, Zach, starts employing very disruptive and downright intrusive tactics to get the Blue Skeleton to come out. Shortly after, the group realizes that they're being followed by some of the same creepy costumed characters they saw at earlier haunts. These horrifying characters, clad in clown costumes and doll masks, start showing up around their RV at night. And each time they appear, they show more animosity toward the main characters. They're secretly filmed and are even sent a cow heart in an attempt to get them to leave. However, Zach refuses to give in until he actually encounters the Blue Skeleton. The tension boils over when they finally encounter the infamous Blue Skeleton crew. Just like they were warned, instead of being jump scared, the group is separated and taken to isolated locations. They are then hunted down one by one and either killed or buried alive inside coffins.
Please help! Help me! Can anybody hear me?
The sound of dirt being shoveled over the cameras after the final act is quite literally one of the creepiest things you'll ever witness. Because it's shot like a travel vlog that slowly unravels into a nightmare, it tricks you into feeling like you're literally part of the entire ordeal. The Tapes, 2011. The Tapes is a low-budget British found footage film from 2011 that deserves to be mentioned on this list because of its strangely realistic premise. It follows three people, Gemma, Danny, and Nathan, who are trying to get Gemma accepted into the reality show Big Brother. For that, they need a sensationalized, shock-value heavy video of her to make her stand out.
In 5 years' time, I see myself running my whole own empire. I see myself on OK every week, new magazine, having my own column.
That is when they find out about a swingers party out in the countryside. They decided that it would be the perfect hotspot for them to find newsworthy footage. However, when they arrive at the location, they realize how deceiving the situation actually is. The farm that's hosting the party is really the site of cultist satanic rituals. By the time they're inside the farmhouse, it's already too late. Everyone who's involved in the little devil party is actively hunting them. The movie ends with Danny and Nathan dead and Gemma being forced to read a haunting note on camera before she disappears. The entire ambiance of the movie gives it this raw feel. It feels so much more like an actual exploration video found on YouTube rather than a staged movie. The foggy and dim lighting and the total isolation of the setting makes it entirely too creepy to not be affected by. To Jennifer, 2013. The further we go down this iceberg, the less effort these movie makers begin to put in their movies. And that's actually a creative liberty. Doing so simply adds to the authenticity of the films. To Jennifer takes things a step further by filming the entire movie on an iPhone 5. The thing with this movie is that it's not horror at all. It's actually rooted into a much more realistic but equally unsettling psychological thriller that boils over into one of the most devastating conclusions ever. The movie opens with Joey, who's convinced that his long-distance girlfriend is cheating on him. He convinces his friends, Steven and Martin, to join him on the trip, and even goes as far as to allow them to document the entire trip as a way to embarrass her. That's where the iPhone 5 shots come into play. The entire movie is from the lens of that documentary. It's a lo-fi digital diary that starts off as a bunch of friends messing around, only to end up slipping into something terrifying.
And it's because baby, I know. I know you've been cheating on me.
Throughout the trip, Joey seems to be out of it. His nerves unravel in a breakdown which ends with them getting kicked off their flight. His anxiety is so palpable that it's genuinely felt through the camera. He then opts to drive to his girlfriend's house instead. Since the drive is long and they're young, they make the best of their trip. That's when the movie slips into a more classic road trip trope. We witness the friends hanging out in seedy hotels, partying with strangers, and having weird encounters. However, you can't really shake off the feeling that something's wrong.
This is my life.
Wait, let me see your. I'm so sorry. Let me see your eyes.
It's okay. I'm okay. No, really. No, I'm okay. Hey, I'm okay. I'm okay. Really, no, I'm okay.
When they finally reach Jennifer's house, everything flips. Joey sees Jennifer with another guy and absolutely loses his mind.
What the fuck? Chill out!
Steven decides to mess with her while Joey is confronting them, but stumbles across something completely unexpected: their friend Martin's body stuffed in the trunk, all bloodied up. He's clearly shocked and runs inside the house to find answers, and instead he stumbles on Joey drenched in blood, and in that moment he realizes everything. Joey was never romantically involved with Jennifer. He was stalking Jennifer, not confronting her out of heartbreak. The footage ends with Joey creepily calling for Jennifer to come out. Level 4. My Little Eye, 2002. My Little Eye is a 2002 British-Canadian found-footage horror film directed by Mark Evans. For someone who hasn't seen it, the premise is oddly similar to Squid Game. It's basically a disgusting deep dive into human conscience and how greed makes people do the unthinkable. The story follows 5 strangers, Emma, Matt, Charlie, Danny, and Rex, who agree to spend 6 months together in a remote house for an online reality show. The premise of the show is fairly simple. If the 5 people stay the entire duration without leaving, they each win $1 million. For the first few months, everything seems peachy enough. The group is, for the most part, living in luxury. However, during the end of the show, the contestants begin to realize they may be part of a much more sinister game.
I'd like to be on the show because
I want to get famous.
the prize is still $1 million, right? The challenge.
For the experience, I guess, just to learn about myself, and grow as a person and all that bull.
Their seeds of doubt are sown when a random internet programmer, Travis, played by Bradley Cooper, stumbles upon their isolated mansion. He claims to have been lost and asks the contestants to stay with them until he figures out what to do. Nothing remotely exciting happens, and Travis leaves the next day. Or so everyone believes. However, some of the contestants find his backpack in the woods covered with blood.
It's Travis's backpack. Was it a grizzly? No. There are no animal tracks. No footprints either.
Well, we have to radio for help.
Whoa, help for who?
For Travis?
Some of them think Travis was one of the organizers sent to ruin the contestants' chance of winning. Others genuinely believed Travis was hunted down and killed. Eventually, Danny is found dead. This is when the contestants realize the game has much darker stakes than they were initially led to believe. Rex, another one of the group members, gets a hold of a laptop with internet access. He looks up the name of their reality show, only to find out that nothing of the sort exists. He comes across a highly encrypted website that has their pictures and looks like a betting game. This is when they realize that the show isn't really a competition for money, it's a snuff broadcast for wealthy online viewers who are betting on the contestants' survival.
Why are there numbers against our names?
One by one, the contestants are killed off in brutal ways until only Emma remains. When she actually tries to escape in the final moment, it's revealed that Rex has been in on the workings all this time, and the show has been rigged from the start. Everyone is killed, and Emma is left to bleed to death after being shot by a gun. My Little Eye stands out because of how it predicted the rise of reality TV culture before it actually exploded worldwide. Its use of fixed surveillance-style cameras gave the whole film spine-chilling vibes that stuck till the end. The Den, 2013. The Den is a 2013 webcam horror film that received a lot of praise for how unsettled it left its audience. It isn't a particularly well-made movie, in fact that's probably the common theme in almost all found-footage films, but the way The Den's premise is set up and how easily it's incorporated into a grander message simply makes this movie one of the most disturbing ones on this list. The Den follows a sociology grad student, Elizabeth, who's conducting a research on behavior of strangers on a video chatting platform known as The Den. For that, she talks to numerous random people on the website and tries to have deep conversations with them.
My mission is to interact with as many people as possible from all over the world. This webcam-based community is unlike any population this school has ever researched.
Despite her friends and boyfriend being concerned for her digital safety, Elizabeth keeps pushing herself. At first, all her interactions are fairly harmless. They're what you'd expect from actually talking to random people online. Pranks, jokes, uneventful conversations. But just a few sessions later, things start taking a distressing turn. Elizabeth has her webcam hacked by someone who films her and her boyfriend being intimate. The unknown person then sends the video to Elizabeth's university, which causes her to lose her scholarship. Unbeknownst to her, this is only the start of the horror.
What you did is completely inappropriate and unacceptable. I have had angry board members calling me all day.
Please listen to me. Someone hacked my account.
Everything nosedives when Elizabeth stumbles upon a disturbing live feed that shows a woman being killed. She instantly reports it to the police, who dismiss her concerns as a hoax or a prank. Her friends try to trace the location of the video, but cannot since it's hidden in layers of VPN. Eventually, it begins to take over Elizabeth's life completely. Her boyfriend and her friends start disappearing one by one and somehow end up dead. The more she tries to involve the cops, the more things get worse. She realizes even they can't be trusted. In the last act, she's kidnapped and taken to an abandoned building with a camera stapled to her forehead. That's where she's forced to watch her other friend and eventually her boyfriend have their lives taken on stream.
Where the f is Damien? Where? He's not here!
Eventually, she is hunted and killed on camera with another person watching her, just like she had done in the beginning. The final reveal delivers the most chilling detail. Her death is streamed to an anonymous audience as part of an underground network where users pay to watch real violence unfold. The movie does exactly what it's intended to do. It effectively plays into the audience's fear of surveillance and online anonymity, something most of us are suffering from in the current internet framework. Milk and Cereal, 2024. Milk and Cereal is a 2024 found-footage horror film made for just $800 and released free on YouTube. It follows the overarching plan of two YouTube pranksters, Milk and his friend Seven, to put together a surprise prank involving fake shooting and fake... While Seven's prank is relatively harmless and doesn't get anyone hurt, Milk takes things to a whole new level.
Now I'm just wondering, I'm done with it, man. What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm done with the fucking prank.
That is exactly what the movie is about. It's Milk's descent from happy-go-lucky and creative kid to an absolute devil incarnate. He hires an actor to kidnap Seven and take him to an isolated location. There, he practically forces Seven to shoot the actor in self-defense. When the dust settles and Seven finally realizes what he's done, Milk manipulates the kid into doing more damage control.
I just don't want to go to jail. Exactly. I just want to go back, live my life, and do my thing.
There's a way we can do that. There's a way we get out of this.
That's when things start spiraling and the two end up going on a killing spree that ends with almost everyone in their lives dead. Naturally, Milk is the mastermind and having the time of his life. Seven, on the other hand, is losing his sanity by the minute, believing it's his fault things went so wrong. The final act of the movie consists of Milk trying to push Seven into ending his own life. Apparently, it's been his goal all along. It was all revenge for Seven calling Milk uncreative.
Seven's everybody's favorite, but look how easy it was to turn him into a killer. Said my ideas aren't creative. How am I not creative?
However, in a small twist, Seven takes the gun and shoots Milk before turning the trigger to himself. It's not clear if Seven succeeds since the last shot pans to someone moving the camera, implying that Milk may have survived the ordeal. La Cueva, 2014. La Cueva is a Spanish found-footage horror movie that starts off like a lighthearted travel vlog, but it very abruptly takes a sharp and deeply unsettling turn into human desperation and savagery. The story follows 5 friends who head to the extremely beautiful but isolated island of Formentera in search of a nice, non-judgmental vacation. At first, they do what every other friend group would do: mess around, have drinks, walk on the beach. They generally just have a good time. All the while, one of the friends, who is a vlogger, continues to film their little adventure.
Pues quiero encontrar paz, tranquilidad, disfrutar del mar, de la naturaleza, de mi soledad.
Sí, muy bonito. Puto coñazo. ¿Y tú, Bego?
Igual que ella.
While exploring, they come across a cave system that seems perfect for a quiet detour. Naturally, they venture deeper and deeper inside to the point where they become stuck. At first, it feels like just another fun excursion, but they soon realize they can't find their way back out.
Joder, ¿otra vez? Quiero salir de aquí ya, ¿eh?
Yo creo que es por aquí. Yo creo que hemos entrado por la otra.
When the reality of their situation sets in, the group begins to panic. They already had few supplies to begin with, but as more time passes, things begin looking more grim. Their days become a blur of exhaustion, starvation, fear, and eventually hallucinations that make all 5 of them turn against each other. Their camaraderie and humor erode, and they start becoming paranoid and selfish. They're forced to make the worst decisions for survival, and the desperation turns all of them violent.
¿Me oyes? ¡Déjalo! ¡Nos estamos muriendo! ¿Me oyes? ¡Nos estamos muriendo!
The movie doesn't have any monsters or killer looking about hunting them. The real monster is human breakdown under extreme conditions. The found footage style makes the entire thing feel so much more claustrophobic. It hits every personal primal fear of being stuck, lost, and starving, with nowhere to go and no one to trust. Level 5. Lucky Bastard, 2013. Lucky Bastard is a 2013 found footage film that blends adult entertainment with real violence. It revolves around an adult website run by a man known as Mike, who pushes his main actress to film intimate moments with a chosen fan. The actress, Ashley Saint, is initially very reluctant, but gives in when Mike shows her how timid and unassuming the fan is. The film documents what happens when David G., the awkward and introverted fan, becomes that lucky winner.
I have good news.
No way.
You are the lucky.
Oh man, I thought no way I'd be picked.
You get to Ashley Saint.
Although Ashley can sense something is wrong with him, she goes forward with the shoot. However, throughout the film, things just don't seem right. David keeps making the oddest demands and is strangely aggressive towards everyone. He approaches Ashley in private and reveals information that suggests he may be her stalker. She becomes increasingly anxious while Dave grows even more unhinged.
This guy is a creep.
What did he do?
You want to know what he did? He called me by my real name. He knew my kids' name. Did he know that?
He starts becoming violent toward her, and Mike finally sends him home. However, that doesn't sit well with the man, who then snaps completely and goes on a rampage on set.
I'm taking the film.
Hey, you can't use this footage if I didn't get the
If you use this footage, I'm warning you.
He ends everyone's life and forces Ashley to do things she doesn't want. She eventually gets the upper hand and finally ends his life in self-defense. Hangman, 2015. Hangman is a found footage horror film that offers another take on the whole home invasion trope. However, with this particular movie, the theme stretches out into something far more disturbing. Like 388 Arletta Avenue, this film also follows a hidden stalker that's bent on making a certain family's life a living hell. However, with Hangman, the stalker in question is far more involved in his victim's life than you would expect. The film follows a family returning from vacation to find their home ransacked. Thinking it's probably just a small burglary, the family simply picks up from where they left and continue living their life like normal. What they don't realize is that while they were gone, a masked stranger broke in and set up surveillance. What's worse, the masked man is quite literally living with the family in their attic. From that moment on, everything we see is filtered through his hidden cameras. The movie then starts playing out like this long, slow-burning psychological game that progressively becomes more disgusting to sit through. The family goes about their everyday lives, but all the while the intruder is watching and recording them. At first, he doesn't actively interfere with their lives, he just subtly messes with things to make his presence known. However, slowly, his voyeuristic tendencies are just so disturbing that watching the entire thing pan out feels unnervingly invasive. As the film progresses, the intruder becomes bolder. He starts sabotaging the family from the inside and begins to break them down psychologically. Even then, the family simply can't figure out that they're being actively haunted by a malicious person living with them.
There's someone in our attic. Call the police.
The man then starts killing everyone who gets even the slightest clue of his presence. He begins by strangling a maintenance man who finds a hidden camera in the family's bathroom. He then starts deliberately creating problems between the husband and wife, which culminates in the wife accusing her husband of cheating. The movie ends with the intruder killing the husband, assuming his identity, and instructing the wife to say, "I love you" to him. He then shoots the woman in the head and moves on to his next victim. The Last Horror Movie, 2003. The Last Horror Movie frames itself as a video rental, starting with a cliché slasher storyline only to be hijacked by a man who's actually taking lives of people in real life. The hijacker is Max, a seemingly ordinary wedding videographer who reveals he's also a serial killer. He and his camera assistant go on a killing spree where they videotape everything they do to their victims. The movie breaks the fourth wall as Max directly addresses the audience.
Sie hatten doch einen Horrorfilm ausgeliehen, oder? Also wollten Sie etwas Gruseliges sehen, richtig?
The film moves between his mundane day job and casual conversations with his assistant to this visceral, disgusting footage of him stalking and killing people. Throughout the film, he's so calm and collected, and that only makes his sudden eruptions of violence feel more invasive and real. Max spends a lot of time talking about morality and even goes as far as to insinuate that this video rental is the only existing copy of the movie. He implies that those who are watching are some kind of chosen ones.
Ich meine, wenn Sie diesen Film gesehen haben, sind Sie sehr gefährlich für mich geworden. Genau wie ich für Sie.
The way the entire documentary is filmed makes it so strangely hard to look away. There's a particularly memorable scene in the movie where Max takes the lives of two people but doesn't show them on camera. He then proceeds to mock the audience for watching and assumes that everyone wanted to see it.
Das wird jedenfalls Ihr letzter Horrorfilm sein.
It's unnerving because Max, and by extension the film, doesn't lean in on some over-the-top theatrics or slasher tactics to look believable. Instead, the rawness of the tapes contrasted with Max's intellectual monologues makes the video feel like an actual taped confession. Level 6. Capture, Kill, Release, 2016. Capture, Kill, Release is a 2016 film that quite literally depicts one of the most horrific acts in the most casual way possible. The story follows a young couple, Jennifer and Farhang, who decide to film themselves planning a for fun. The wife, Jennifer, is a bright, charismatic woman who shows suspicious excitement, almost childlike glee over the thought of killing someone. She is completely invested in her shtick and takes her husband along for everything from buying weapons to stalking random strangers to shortlist. For her, the idea of killing a person is like a quirky couples project that the two are undertaking together.
And then we put him in garbage bags, put him in the car, take him out somewhere quiet and secluded, bury the pieces, and he never comes back. What do you think?
In fact, her nonchalance and commitment to the art is so intense that it genuinely feels uncomfortable to watch at times. The movie creates this dichotomy between not only Jennifer and her husband, but also her present and past selves. It shows a clear contrast by playing some of her childhood videos, which show how disquietingly normal it was. Nothing stands out that hints toward her having a bad upbringing that could make her be this unhinged. On the other hand, the husband, Farhang, is clearly hesitant and is wavering between indulging his wife's fantasies and trusting his own inner judgment. He genuinely loses his wits trying to make sense of what's happening around him, yet he still goes along with whatever his dear wife tells him to do.
Lie down. Yeah, lie down. We need to see if you fit. It's totally wet. Quit your... Lie down. Like a body, like a dead body? Yeah, like a dead body.
The two find their first victim, a homeless man who they've been scouting for the longest time. Jennifer invites him home for dinner and spikes his drink, eventually strangling him to death while Farhang films in complete helplessness. Then she coerces him into dismembering the body in their bathtub and hiding it around the house. What makes Capture, Kill, Release so disturbing is not just the premise, but the unexpectedly realistic effects, particularly the dismemberment. The blood splashes, Jen's growing insanity, and the digital diary format bring such a sickening aftertaste to the audience. It feels like you're watching unfiltered evidence of a real couple egging each other into sadism. House with 100 Eyes, 2013. House with 100 Eyes is a 2013 mockumentary-style found-footage horror film depicted as an instructional video made by serial killers. The movie starts off with a seemingly normal suburban married couple, Ed and Susan, who are actually serial killers. They run a studio at their home that they use to film most of their snuff film projects. The premise of the movie revolves around Ed's newest obsession, making the world's best snuff film. He's fully prepared for this and has even wired his house up completely with cameras at all angles. The instructional video part comes from the couple unironically explaining their process of taking someone's life, like a tutorial. They talk about luring the victims, setting up the stage lights, and making everything look cinematic and on theme.
Studio Red has always been about taking chances and
pushing the envelope.
Exactly. And now we are just gonna push that thing so far. We're just gonna rip that envelope wide open. We are taking snuff.
Their casually unnerving vibes when talking about their tendencies leads viewers to the conclusion that both of them are completely unhinged. They talk about their acts like they're part of a cooking show and not taking actual people's lives. The movie starts off with them luring 3 victims to their house under the pretense of filming an adult film. The victims are given spiked drinks that make them completely compliant to Ed and Susan's whims. They're initially humble, hospitable guests with a penchant for humor. However, it doesn't take long for them to completely switch, becoming violent and malicious. The couple slowly picks off their victims, toys with them brutally, and eventually ends their lives.
So, what are our stars drinking, huh? Beer, wine, booze?
I'll take a beer, I guess.
All right, beer for the party girl.
Each death shows Ed's obsession with camera angles and his need to get that one perfect shot. What's worse is how normal the two act when they're committing these crimes. They argue with each other like a normal couple and pick out the strangest issues with one another. Susan's frustrated with Ed's bossy and egotistic personality, and Ed is completely done with Susan's impulsiveness that ends up ruining his shots.
What did you do? What did you do to me?
I slipped up, I know. I slipped up.
The final twist comes when Susan turns on Ed after their film is completed. She goes berserk and kills him brutally on camera before taking full control of the project. She vows to finish her snuff film without him. The entire movie treats murder like some sort of how-to video. The casual humor mixed with the absolutely horrendous brutality performed by the subjects blurs the line between authenticity and parody to the point where it becomes hard to ignore. Cho Akunin, 2011. Cho Akunin is a Japanese found-footage mockumentary directed by Koji Shiraishi. He's known for his immense contribution in the found-footage mockumentary industry and has so many fairly decorated titles under his belt. However, Cho Akunin, translated as hypervillain, may just be one of his most disturbing works yet. The movie starts off with the editorial staff of a crime tabloid magazine receiving disturbing videotapes from a man calling himself the hypervillain. He casually confesses to taking advantage of almost 107 women over the course of 10 years. He declares that to honor his 10-year anniversary, he will let the tabloid film him and his next victim. Completely horrified yet slightly intrigued by his confession, the magazine sends a female writer and an editor to meet up with this man. They appear to not believe that what he's saying is true. Against their better judgment and the man's strangely dichotomous persona, they follow him to do whatever he does. They film him stalking his next victim, a maid cafe worker named Miwa. He takes them along as he breaks into her apartment and waits for her to come back. The magazine crew tags along and records everything the man does to the maid for the next few hours. The audience is forced to linger on one of the most disturbing and twisted power dynamics ever seen. Things end bizarrely with Miwa and the hypervillain performing the act in a horrifyingly romantic and intimate way. There's quite literally no cinematic distance or designed pause. You feel like you're watching real depravity unfold live. Level 7. The Great American Snuff Film, 2003. The Great American Snuff Film follows two men, Groan and Roy, who kidnap two young women so they could film themselves taking their lives. In other words, the movie is like a behind-the-scenes look at the making of a snuff film.
My name is William Allen Groan. I find that the image is more pure, less artificial. It captures the essence of my subject. I'm making a film about you.
The two men bring the women into a remote house where the physical and psychological torment starts. They force the women to do things they don't want to and then tie them up and put them through days of inhumane treatment. They're burned with cigarettes and even forced to dig their own graves. All the while, the viewer is forced to watch as these men toy with the women, evoking primal terror and despair seemingly for fun. In the later acts of the movie, the two men turn on each other, which ends with Groan getting rid of quite literally everyone in the film, including his own partner.
Turn around, Roy.
Hey, I know you have plans for... Do it!
The worst part is, if someone came across this movie without knowing it's staged, it will easily come across as evidence of an actual brutal murder. In fact, the film quite literally claims that Groan was later convicted of 13 counts of murder before being executed in 2001. August Underground's Mordom, 2003. August Underground's Mordom is one of those films that feels more like a bunch of nightmarish scenes sewn together for shock value than an actual movie. It follows a group of sadistic friends who spend their days committing acts so vile that they become completely unbearable to watch. Like most pseudo-snuff films, this one also doesn't care about the plot or the pacing. Its main goal is to simply throw the viewer into a mixture of extreme violence, degradation, and depravity. The three main characters are the utterly depraved Christy, her equally unhinged boyfriend Peter, and her weirdly childish brother Maggot.
Come on! What are you doing? What did I tell you to
The movie follows their adventures as they move through life, committing as much brutality as they can. They laugh, argue, and eat fast food in one scene, but in the very next are seen and humiliating their victims in the worst ways possible. One especially nasty sequence has them breaking into a house and stumbling upon a couple. Instead of a clean kill scene, it turns into a drawn-out, chaotic sequence where the killers bicker and joke mid-crime. At times, it's so raw and frenzied that you almost forget you're watching a fictional movie with actors. There are times when the victim actors' fears are so palpable, their reactions don't seem staged at all.
Do you know why we are doing this to you? We're doing this to you?
What makes it so disturbing is how aimless and casual it is. The things these three demented people do aren't part of some grand scheme or a result of some tragic backstory. They do it because they want to, no other reason whatsoever. This lack of structure makes it even harder to digest because there's nothing to hold on to.
I mean, he'll find out soon enough. You don't want to tell me now. Why are you running the surprise?
Eventually, the movie ends with Maggot, the little brother, taking his own life in order to appease his sister. Other than that, there's absolutely no sense of resolution and no safe space between scenes. If you're still curious about more twisted tapes, why not check out Volume 1 of our found footage Iceberg?